Hello, I'm Spencer, and this is First Aid. Today we're going to be talking about RFA. RFA is realistic first aid. Now these are going to be fake injuries that look real, and they're going to fit real world scenarios. You're going to use these for training scenarios, such as if you're training your scouts. Our council uses it at their NYLTs. I'm sure other NYLTs across the country do. Today, we have a very special guest who's going to be teaching us about RFA and how to make it. Adam.
Alright, so the first thing we're going to be making is just some skin putty to shape the wound. You're going to start off by putting some flour in a cup, and then to that you're going to add just water. I don't really measure, just kind of do it by eye. And then you're going to mix it together into a nice paste. So you can add the petroleum jelly, and just kind of do a scoop of petroleum jelly, mix that together. You're going to have to do this by hand a little bit. And then add flour just as you do it, just until you get it right, and mix it all together. Next we're going to be making the fake blood, which is mostly just corn syrup and red food coloring, and then I add a couple more things to it just to give it a better consistency. So to start, I'm going to put some corn syrup in the cup, and then add red food coloring. Again, there's no measurements, I'm just going to kind of mix it together, do it by eye. I'll end up adding more corn syrup and red food coloring later. But next I'm going to add some cocoa powder to kind of make it darker and thicken it up a little bit, just to make it a better consistency of blood. And then I did add a little bit too much here, but that's fine. So I'm just going to add more corn syrup, add some more red food coloring until it looks like blood. So I'm just going to mix this all together. Add some water to give it a little bit of a runnier feel, because it helps add to the wound. And that's basically it. You can kind of change the recipe how you want. Okay, and the next part is going to be applying the wound. So I'm going to start off with the skin putty, and I'm going to shape around the area of what I want the wound to look like roughly. The skin putty is malleable, so you can change it as you go. This is not a final shape, but it does give you a rough area of the area that you're going to work with. And then I'm just going to use this knife here to help flatten it down onto the edge of this, just smooth it in so it looks better. And then I'm going to use this glue to help kind of hold it in place and make a seal so that the blood doesn't start leaking everywhere. It helps keep things clean and helps the skin putty stick. And then this tissue is just going to sit here to make sure the blood doesn't run onto the fingers, and it helps get the Q-tips in place and stuff. It's just kind of a placeholder. I'll take it off later. I'm going to use these Q-tips here to kind of act as the bones running the wrist to the fingers for the injury that we're making. I ripped the ends of the Q-tips off and struggled a little bit with getting those off. And I'm going to add more glue just to help hold these in place. You can use other things like makeup jelly and stuff, but I just find that Elmer's glue is significantly cheaper and does just about the same thing. And then I'm going to add little pieces of toilet paper here. I'm going to ball them up and just kind of put some red food coloring on them, just to give a texture inside the wound. Most of building a fake wound is just kind of playing it as it goes. Nothing is final as you do it. Everything that you can do can be taken off, and you can always add more, but I always start with putting less on there. Alright, so once we have most of the base and like big pieces that I'm going to put in here, I'm going to start applying the blood with the fork. I'm going to go in between each bone here just to keep everything clean and make sure I'm going to work with each area independently. And then I'm just going to put some toilet paper over top of this just to give more texture. This is an art, not a science, so you are playing this as you go, as I've said before. So there's no exact way to do this. There's no right or wrong way. So do what you think looks good, and this is something that takes practice. I've been doing this for a couple years. It's not great, and I'm not professional at this. I just kind of do this casually every so often, and I've gotten better as I've gone. As I said before, I am going to take the toilet paper off from earlier. I just kind of used it to pat down the extra blood that was there. I'm going to take it off now and finish up shaping the wound and add some blood just to cover up anything that doesn't blend in well with the hand, and just kind of touch up about the areas and flatten it down with a knife just to get it to blend in more, and it's basically done. That's the finished product. I think it looks pretty real and pretty convincing until you get close to it. But it's not perfect, but it's not hard to do, as you can see.
So as you can see, this is realistic first aid. The type of wound we have here is an avulsion. That is the complete or partial tearing off of the skin. You can see the skin right here has been pulled and broken. Pulled down here. You've got the metacarpals and the bloody tissue underneath. So the way you would get this on a scouting camp out is he was most likely chopping wood using a hatchet, and the head of the hatchet dug into his skin and tore it off. Alright? The way you would treat this is you would apply a clean cloth, and you would also apply possibly some dressing. You would also want to make sure it is elevated above his heart. That way the blood has to work against gravity to get to the open wound. In severe enough cases where you possibly have nicked an artery, you're going to want to do a tourniquet, and you're going to want to mark the time that you put the tourniquet down. In this case, there's quite a bit of blood, but there isn't really enough to warrant a tourniquet, I would think. You're also going to want to make sure you call 911, because this is a hurry case. Just look at all that blood. This is a hurry case. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has been informative and that you've learned something. If so, please consider subscribing to keep up to date on content to help you through your scouting journey.